Imagine you're standing outside. Everything looks completely normal. Then suddenly, Earth stops spinning. Not its orbit around the sun. Its rotation. The ground beneath you stops moving, but you don't. Why? Because at the equator, Earth's surface is moving at roughly 1,670 kilometers per hour. You just don't feel it because everything around you is moving together. But if Earth suddenly stopped, your body would keep moving eastward at enormous speed. And you wouldn't be the only thing moving. The atmosphere would keep rushing. The oceans would keep moving. Buildings, trees, vehicles, almost everything on the surface would be affected. The result? Winds far beyond the strength of ordinary hurricanes. And enormous waves sweeping across coastlines. But here's the terrifying part. The first few seconds would only be the beginning. Because stopping Earth's rotation wouldn't just create massive winds and waves. It would completely change the environment we live in. And in the next part, we'll see what happens to the oceans, the atmosphere, and even the shape of our planet. Because when Earth stops spinning, everything else has to catch up. If Earth suddenly stopped spinning, the oceans would become one of the biggest dangers. Think about all the water covering our planet. Right now, it is moving with Earth. But if the ground suddenly stopped, the water wouldn't stop instantly. It would keep moving because of inertia. That could send enormous waves across coastlines and reshape huge areas of land. But the oceans wouldn't be the only thing changing. Earth itself isn't a perfect sphere. Because it spins, the planet is slightly wider around the equator. If that rotation disappeared, the forces maintaining that shape would change. Over a very long period, Earth would gradually become more spherical. The oceans would also redistribute themselves. But then comes another massive problem. Day and night. Earth currently completes one rotation in about 24 hours. If it stopped rotating, the normal cycle of sunrise and sunset would disappear. One side of the planet could face the sun for an extremely long time. The other side could remain in darkness for an equally long period. The sunlit side would become dangerously hot. The dark side would become incredibly cold. And the difference between the two could dramatically affect the atmosphere and climate. But here's the important detail. A sudden stop would be catastrophic. A very slow stop would be completely different. So could humans actually survive on a planet that stopped rotating? The answer depends on how the rotation stopped. And that's where things get even more interesting. So, could humans survive if Earth stopped rotating? If it happened instantly, the chances would be terrible. The initial winds, ocean movement, and destruction would be catastrophic. But imagine something different. What if Earth slowly became slower over millions of years? Then humans would have time to adapt. There would be no sudden wave of destruction. Instead, the planet would gradually become a very different place. Days and nights would become extremely long. Some regions would experience prolonged sunlight and intense heat. Others would face long periods of darkness and freezing temperatures. Plants would struggle to adapt. Animals would migrate. And humans would have to build new ways to survive. The atmosphere would also behave differently. Earth's rotation helps influence global wind patterns and ocean currents. Without that rotation, the climate system would change dramatically. But here's the fascinating part. Earth is actually slowing down already. Very, very slowly. The moon's gravity creates tidal forces that gradually remove a tiny amount of Earth's rotational energy. The change is so small that you would never notice it in everyday life. So don't worry. Earth isn't going to suddenly stop spinning tomorrow. But if it did, we wouldn't just lose our normal sunrise and sunset. We would lose the world as we know it. Because sometimes, the things we don't notice are the things keeping our planet the way it is.